Alright, I'm going to take a look at this animation. It's really nice. It's got great personality. As some students mentioned, there's some problems with the physics of it. So let's look at how that can be fixed. So the first thing, we'll just take a quick look at it right now. Actually, we don't need to look at the whole thing. We're more concerned about the ball, because people said it was floaty. So how can you correct that? Here's one way, and I think this will be useful for a lot of people. We're going to take a look at this. First, let's study it in a profile, because this is a very direct, it's a very lateral kind of animation. And more concerned, and this first part's not too bad. He sort of pops it up, and it does kind of make a sharp turn right there. You would want a cleaner arc. But let's just look at this back and forth. And looks like we can study, say, the arc from, looks like 170 or 171, 170 maybe to 190. I think probably 191. So we're going to use a tool up here. Now you have to be in the animation module, and the tool is under animate, and we're going to take a snapshot of it. It's animation snapshot. We're going to click the option box and experiment with this. And normally, actually, let's put it back to reset. So I just did 170, and I think it goes to 191, and then we'll look at that. And this shows you the actual every frame of the animation. So you can see that it's really flat right in here, when it should make an arc. Remember, one of the principles of animation is an arc. Actually, we're going to get to that next module. So that's one of the principles. You want to make an arc here. And also, just like the bouncing ball, because he's hitting it, the energy comes from there. This kind of an action would work for, say, a car starting, because they start slowly and they accelerate. But because this is being hit, all of its energy comes from the first impact. So they would actually be farther apart here and then slow down. And it might actually accelerate here because, again, if there's an arc, gravity is going to be pulling it down. So that could accelerate it a little bit. So it would go fast, then slow down. Then slow down means they would be closer together here where they're farther apart. And that's why it looks floaty. Now, just so you know about this snapshot, I'm going to push the number 6 key, and then we'll go into perspective view, and you can see that it exists. They're actual objects. They're selectable. So you can just go in and select it. You can actually create duplicate objects in a specific place. Or I used to do a demo in an introductory class where I would make one block, and then I would rotate and translate it, and it would automatically make a spiral staircase. Very cool demo. So to get rid of it, I guess you could just undo it. That would be a simple thing. You could also click any one of these and hit the up arrow, because you can't see me and then hit delete key. You can't see me hitting the up arrow. So another solution is to go into the outliner, and you can see that that's selected. It actually says group. It's just showing you something inside the group. If I just select that whole group, then I can delete it. Where's delete here? I always use the delete key. Alright, so that's how you can fix that. Try out those things. There's a couple of other issues here I may as well talk about real quick. There's not really a perceptible, let's see if I haven't screwed up the camera. This is a little wide. I think you could go in tighter because all the action is contained pretty much in this space. Once you get that, there's the ball appearing inside the cube right there. Now, probably the simplest solution is just don't translate it so far. But if that's the motion that you like, you can use this tool, this visibility. So you would key it before it appears, and I'm keying it on so that it is on. and then you say, oh, there's where it's, I don't want it to appear. So you don't have to type the word off. You can just click a 0, enter, and then key that, and now it's off. And you do need to be careful about that. If you hit it off, then you say, oh wait, no, I didn't mean to do that. I want to select it, and well, it's no longer on the screen. How do you select it? Well, you can go back to the outliner, and there it is, and see it's actually ghosted. But you then can get the menu and click it back on again. But the simplest thing is just go ahead and make that key, so as you can see it does appear here, and then it's gone forever because you never need to see it again. So that's another little tip. And let's see, it concerned me that you couldn't really see this. Boom, a couple of hits, it didn't quite look like it was actually making contact. And it could be, let's go back to the lateral view here. It actually does not make contact. It never makes contact. And you actually want to, because even if it did, it would only be for one frame, so it's a little hard for people to see it. So you'd probably want to kind of exaggerate that. Maybe, embed it just a tiny bit, not so much that you could tell. And you'd also really want to squash it, I think. So like right there would be a normal frame. Then I'll just scale that. I mean, I'll key the scale. Let me move these so I'm working in a small area here. Okay, so we go in here and we say there's where the squash comes. So you know the drill. You scale it up in one direction and down in, scale it in actually all three directions, and then down in one other direction. And I have auto key turned on, that little thing right there, so it's automatically saved that key. And then, well, I forgot to set a key for it coming back, so I'd say it'd be back about there, 174. So I'll just, there's where it's normal. I'll middle mouse and go to 174, and then key that so that it gets back to its normal shape. So when you play it, you can, it's a little bit more obvious impact. And actually, if we see it, we might want to see it from your angle. That's again really small. So it's a little bit more contact. I mean, we're talking about shades, degrees. So okay, I have one last thing I wanted to talk about, and I think it's really cool that you made it hit the net and made the net respond to it. And I'm guessing from what it looks like, I'm just going to guess, let's go in here to the top view, that you actually animated it by, I'm right click now, I'm just going to select the item and then right click vertex, and then I can select a vertex, go into the move, and then you're able to move them. And actually that's a pretty efficient way to go with a model like this. And if it's straight on and it's not going to move its orientation, so it's really easy to select, then you can do that. But I am going to show you one other thing that could be useful for you. Actually, I'll show two things if I have time. And this is what I'm guessing that you did. You just selected this. If you ever have a more complicated object and you want to move it, again, this is a very efficient way to do in this particular instance. But you can also do this. If you're in the animation module, you've got deformers. One of them is a cluster. And let's go into perspective view so we can see it. Now I've created a cluster, and that can move that group. I just selected those points, and you see it's represented by the letter C. Now here I'm selecting a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. So one solution to that is you turn off the surfaces, then you can only select, and we'll just go back, put the surfaces back on, so we can select that, And then normally you don't do this while, after animation is already done. Let's go back to the perfect top view, the orthographic view. And, it's always a good idea to name it. So you say, like create a cluster. This would be the net on the, I guess this is the, looking at a normal view, this would be the left-hand side. And then this one would be the, like, again, right-click vertex, and then create cluster, middle, okay, something like that. And then, once you've turned off the surfaces, you can go into the perspective view, and then you've got these 3 clusters, easy enough to select. Okay, one last thing, if this is a little advanced, this is actually rigging and modeling related stuff, so feel free to turn off this video because it's now like over 10 minutes long. But this is really cool. This is kind of the standard procedure for making a controlled deformation. And you actually make a duplicate of it. So edit, duplicate. And actually I'm just going to do a straight duplicate. And just move it out so I can select it. Go to the vertex. Move it. Actually, let's go. I'm going to go make a kind of highly controlled version. And so there's kind of a curve. Okay, so I've made a deformation. I'll select that whole thing. That was just a right click. So I'll select that, and then I'll select, you can actually make a whole bunch of these. You just select them all, and then the last thing you select is your base item, the one that you want to, that's in the right place. And then you do, again, under Deformer, Blend Shape. Once you've created your blend shape, you can delete your transformation. Then there's actually a menu here under Animation Editor for Blend Shape, and you can transform it just by moving the slider up. Now you key it here. You have to hit this key. But I'll show you a real trick. You can see this menu just goes from 0 to 1. Guess what, boys and girls? You can put in a negative, and it does the reverse. And then you can key that. And not only that, what if you want it to go farther? Well, you didn't even make that. It's already figured out what's it going to be if it goes farther. So it goes negative. Whoa, it's gone up to -4. Oh, that's too much. So you have a lot of control. Boing, 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 boing. So, of course, you don't. In this situation, you couldn't have the ball hit over here. Whereas in the way you did it, where you could control each of these separately. But you can, as I said, you can make as many of these blend shapes as you want. So you could have one that had this extended and this one back, and that's actually how faces are done. So hopefully this is all useful information for you and was worth the time. I'll see you soon.